we are continuing with the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 2, the process of creation, Chapter 4, Text 14. Namo namaste stu rishabhaya sattvatam.
Namo namaste stu rishabhaya sattvatam.
Vidurkastaya muhuk yoginam. Nirasta samyat sayena radasa. Swadhamini brahmani vamsyat namaha. Namate. Let me offer my obeisances unto you. Astu. Rishabhaya. Unto the great associate. Sattvatam, the members of the Yadu dynasty. Vidurakastaya, one who is far from mundane wranglers. Muhu, always. Kuyoginam, non-devotees. Nirashta, vanquished. Samya, equal status. Atisayena, by greatness. Radhasa, by opulence. Shradamini, in his own abode. Ramini, in the spiritual sky. Ramshate, enjoys. Nama, I do bow down. Let me offer my obeisances unto he who is the associate of the members of the Yadu dynasty, and it's always the problem for non-devotees. He's the enjoyer of both material and spiritual worlds, yet he enjoys his own abode in the spiritual sky. There is no one equal to him because his transcendental opulence is immeasurable. So, Sutta Goswami was thus requested by the king to describe the creative energy of the personality of Godhead. Then he systematically remembered the master of senses, Sri Krishna, and to reply properly he spoke thus. So this is speaking on the creation. So he's offering obeisances to Krishna before he describes the material creation. So Prabhupada's got very, very elaborate purport in relationship to this. So we'll wade through the purport and see how we go today. There are two sides of the transcendental manifestations of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. For the pure devotees, he is the constant companion, as in the case of his becoming one of the family members of the Yadu dynasty, or his becoming the friend of Arjuna, or his becoming the associate neighbour of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, as the son of Nanda Yasoda, a friend of Sudama, Sri Dharma and Madhu Mangala, or the lover of the damsels of Rajabhumi, etc. That is part of his personal features. And by his impersonal feature he expands the rays of the Brahmajyoti, which is limitless and all pervasive. Part of this all-pervasive Brahmajyoti, which is compared to the sun's rays, is covered by the darkness of the Mahatattva, and this insignificant part is known as the material world. In this material world there are innumerable universes like the one we can experience, and in each of them there are hundreds and thousands of planets like the one we are inhabiting. The mundaners are more or less captivated by the unlimited expansion of the rays of the Lord, but the devotee is concerned more with his personal form, from which everything is emanating. As the sun rays are concentrated in the sun disk, the Brahmajyoti is concentrated in Goloka Vrindavan, topmost spiritual planet in the spiritual sky. The immeasurable spiritual sky is full of spiritual planets, namely Vaikunthas, far beyond the material sky. The mundaners have insufficient information of even the mundane sky, so what can they think of the spiritual sky? Therefore, the mundanes are always far, far away from him. Even if in the future they're able to manufacture some machine whose speed may be accelerated to the velocity of the wind or the mind, the mundanes will still be unable to imagine reaching planets in the spiritual sky. So the Lord in his residential abode will always remain a myth or mysterious problem, but for the devotees of the Lord, he will always be available as an associate. So this particular section, this is like about 1/3 of the purport here, so just stop for a little bit of elaboration here. So in the first few sentences, the Lord says for the pure devotees, he's constant companion. And it finishes here that for devotees of the Lord, he will always be available as an associate. And so then the Lord sort of describes his different relationships with the devotees, and he begins with the Yadu dynasty. Of course, the Lord himself appeared in the Yadu dynasty, and to perform his pastimes, he also requested the demigods to take birth in the Yadu dynasty. That's why we have such an auspicious dynasty, that it wasn't just an ordinary, sort of lucky souls that took birth. It was a lot of demigods there. I was just recanting some figures. So Lord Krishna, he married 16,108 wives, and then he had 10 sons and 1 daughter to each wife, so we're sort of getting up there, 160,800 members of the other dynasty, plus throw in 16,108 daughters, and then each of them got married, and they had 10 sons, and I think anyway, I'm pretty sure. So if that was the case, then we're up to 1,608,000 plus another 160,000. So we're talking about 1,800,000, something like that. So that's how many immediate members of the Yadu dynasty were there. And of course, in Dwarka there was the servants and the close associates and what have you. But in the material world, it is said that there are 33 million demigods that are ruling the affairs of the universe. So it's quite an elaborate structure, so that everything is sort of functioning according to the Lord's plan. So then, like when the Lord announces that he's going to take birth in the material world to perform his pastime, this one particular moment in the day of Lord Brahma, the demigods, they begin lining up. It's like tickets to an opera or something, like the concert. Where was it? Oh yeah, the opening of the art gallery in Surface Paradise. So people line up and they try to get the tickets. This is the act of the day of Lord Brahma. This is the one to be at, right? So you can imagine. So the Yadu dynasty is jam-packed full of souls who want to share in Krishna's pastime, taking birth as his son, daughter, grandson. How good is that? So this is the Yadu dynasty. This is the relationship in Dwarka. So the residents of Dwarka are also praying to Krishna that, like, when you go to Vrindavan or you go to Mathura, you go away, that we are bereft of your association, like our life has been taken from us. So this is the attachment of the residents there. And then it goes on to speak about different reciprocal love that Krishna has in Vrindavan, or Krishna has with the Pandavas, these cousins. There's there's the cowherd boys, Sudama, mentioned Sudama, Sridham, Madhamangala, and in his association, loving pastimes, the lover of the damsels Rajabhumi. So the gopis are the most beautiful human, beautiful beings in the whole universe, most beautiful ladies. Even the wives of the demigods don't even come close in matching the beauty of the gopis. And of all the gopis, the unrivaled beauty is Radharani. That sometimes Krishna spies on the gopis having fun, playing in the forest or whatever. He's just looking, and in Radharani is just unmatched, unrivaled in the beauty. And of course all the gopis revolve around Radharani and perform service to this the embodiment, the goddess of fortune, the goddess of all the goddesses of fortune, the mother of all the goddesses of fortune. So this is reciprocal relationships in the spiritual world. So we have this, so the devotees are struggling to, the devotees are wanting this association in different, this association with the Lord, but first of all, we have to understand that to obtain the Lord, we have to understand the Lord's energy. This is one part of his, the spiritual energy which is being described here. But Maharaj Pariksit is inquiring that, hey, that's the spiritual energy, it's very nice, but what about this material energy? How do we come about here? What's happening? So here, the fact is that it's being described here that the energy of the Lord is the devotees, but these part of his personal features, and then we have the impersonal feature, which is the Brahman effulgence of the Lord. And what's really interesting in this purport is it said, just like you have the sun, and we are now enjoying the sun's rays. We were bereft of the sun's rays early this morning, we were freezing. But now the sun is shining, and we see the sun, and we look at the sun, and it's dazzling. We can't look at the sun. Our eyes will go blind. So similarly, this dazzling effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead of Krishna, that is said here, is coming from Goloka Vrindavan, and it is illuminating the whole spiritual sky. And in one corner of the sky we have this material universe, as this Mahatattva. I always like to sort of, with my limited intelligence, I like to sort of imagine the fact that we have this huge space, like a huge room, and we go to see someone and we say, oh, what a beautiful situation you have here, it's so lovely. But what's this in the corner? Oh, that's my Mahatattva. So just in one corner of this room we have some thing that's sort of like, you know, like, oh yeah, I created this, but you know, that's just sort of just a part of what I got. But I have the rest of it, and the rest of it is the spiritual world, and then one part is the Mahatattva. So this sort of blocks out the effulgence of the Lord, because it's all these different chunks of matter. But it's still equally Lord's energy, although it's called the inferior energy. In Bhagavad Gita it describes that there's three types of energy. There's inferior energy, superior energy, marginal energy. So this inferior energy is still inhabited by the expansion of the Lord in the form of Mahavishnu, who's lying in the causal ocean, and from him all these universes come sprouting out, little bubbles, like little bubbles come out of the pores of his skin. How fantastic is that? Then they grow and grow, and they form different shape universes, some small universes, some big universes. So we're one of the smaller universes. Myriads of universes come out, right? And within this small universe, within each small universe, then there's sort of innumerable planets that come about from the other expansion of Vishnu, which is Skabdaksha Vishnu, and from him all this different planets by the agency of demigods, whatever. So we have innumerable planets within the universe, right? So within these innumerable planets, there is one planet with us innumerable living entities living in this planet here. So this is the Lord's Mahatattva. So we are here in this material creation, and for us to actually understand who we really are, also it's very important for us to understand where we are, that we're in this, and this is actually still the Lord's creation. It belongs to the Lord. Everything belongs to the Lord. So, so the people who don't understand this, they more or less gravitate into the impersonal effulgence. Just like in this material world, why are we here? We're here because we actually want to enjoy, to be like the Supreme Lord. This is our enjoying propensity. We turned our back on the Lord. So here you are. Yeah, it's like a corner here. Go to the Mahatattva, you can enjoy. And just like sometimes we have a young child, best way to occupy a young child in his 2s or 3s is giving something to do which sort of occupies his interest for a few minutes. So some plasticine's really great, you know, so they just sort of mould something with plasticine and it sort of all gets dismantled and created again. So this is like he's a controller. He's in control of all the colours and the shapes and that. So similarly we are trying to take control of the material energy. So those who come to the conclusion that actually this material energy is something that is way beyond our comprehension, that there is a creator of this material energy, normally they will go to the impersonal energy, particularly in this age of Kali Yuga, because they're envious of the Supreme Lord. This is why they're here in the first place, right? They want to be their own creators. So, okay, there is a higher intelligence. Okay, we'll go with the impersonal Brahman. Why? Because we can become one with the impersonal Brahman. Hey, we all become God. This works, doesn't it? No, we're all one, right? This is the energy. And when we finish with this sort of plasticine-like effulgence of the material world and rearranging things, then we become God, we become one. So how good is that? So this is the situation in the material world. So therefore, for one who... But these people will actually, it says here, that they will never know the spiritual world. So they're caught up in this mundane material world. They want to get out. They want to merge with the impersonal effulgence. So when they're in impersonal effulgence, what they don't see within this effulgence is all the Vaikuntha planets, that there is civilization, there is life, there are innumerable Vaikuntha planets. Actually 75% of the Lord's energy is spiritual, right? And most of those Vaikuntha planets, and then of course there's Goloka Vrindavan. But in the Vaikuntha planets, innumerable planets, there's beings getting around, flying spaceships, having palaces, walking in parks, doing all beautiful yajnas and whatever, but it's all relationship to Krishna, because they can understand that Krishna's energies are renewable, but they're coming from the person. So there is that associate of Krishna, they're associating with Krishna on that level of personal association, to understand the personal God. So for the impersonalist, doesn't matter what sort of formula they come up with, like Prabhupada's saying that they can travel by the speed of the mind even, and they can go wherever they like, but they will never find the Lord according to these mechanical means, because there is another process and it's called bhakti. So I'll just keep reading a little bit more here. In the spiritual sky, His opulence is immeasurable. The Lord resides in all the spiritual planets, the innumerable Vaikuntha planets. By expanding his plenary portions along with his liberated devotee associates. But the impersonalists who want to merge in the existence of the Lord are allowed to merge as one of the spiritual sparks of the Brahmayoti. They have no qualification for becoming associates of the Lord, either in the Vaikuntha planets or in the supreme planet, Goloka Vrindavan, described in Bhagavad Gita as Madhama. Here in this verse is Svadharma of the Lord. The Madhama or Svadharma is described in Bhagavad Gita 15.6 as follows. Na tad vasayate shuryo na sasanko na pavaka yadgatva na nirvantante tadharma paramam mama. Lord Svadharma does not require any sunlight or moonlight or electricity for illumination. That Dharma, all place, is supreme, and whoever goes there never comes back to the material world. So the Vaikuntha planets and the Goloka Vrindavan planet are all self-illuminating, and the rays scattered by those Svadharma of the Lord constitute existence of the Brahmayoti. As further confirmed, the Vedas like the Mundaka, Katha and Svetasvatara Upanishads, Nat tatra suryo bhatina chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bantikato yamatnihi tameva bantu manu bhati sarvam tasyavasa sarvamidam vibhati. In the Svadharma of the Lord there is no need of sun, moon, stars for illumination, nor is there any need of electricity. What to speak of ignited lamps? On the other hand, it is because those planets are self-illuminating that all effulgence has become possible, and whatever there is that is dazzling is due to the reflection of that Svadharma. So this starts with Madhama and Svadharma. Amazing, but the purport of this is that everything is self-effulgent. So this comes from the 15th chapter, 6th verse. So one of my favourite verses, which I don't understand completely in the Bhagavad Gita, is 15:1, 2 and 3. And that talks about the banyan tree, right? So there's another good example of what we're talking about, that the roots of the banyan tree, they're growing upwards, and they become branches, and then the branches grow downwards. So therefore it appears like the banyan tree is all branches, and it's compared to the material world. It may be roots, but in the material world it's a very complicated situation where it's hard to get out of the entanglement. So sometimes the branches said to be the Vedas, that you look at the different branches to get out of the entanglement in this material world. So where do you see something with the roots growing up and the branches growing down? Prabhupada explains to the purport that normally it doesn't exist. But when you look at a tree in the reflection of the water, so you go to a water's edge and you see a tree reflecting in it, you will see that the reflection is there in the water, and there's the roots. They're growing down, the branches, the roots are growing up, the branches are growing down. You look in the water, right? The roots are up, branches are down, right? But the water is shimmering a little bit, so it's a reflection. So you can see that there is a sort of like a shimmering reflection. So of course it's called like a perverted reflection of the real tree. So in this way, this material world is described as a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So we are here, we are trying to make a home out of this material world, and this is just whatever is happening in the spiritual world is just a perverted reflection here, so we can enjoy our senses. But all this enjoyment is just the real shadow reflection of what the real enjoyment is in the spiritual world. Just like it says, there's a few, just like the love that we experience for Krishna turns into lust here in this material world. Are there any other metaphors that anyone can think of at this point in time? Like that? Anyway, that's a good one. So, what we're doing now in this particular chapter is we're trying to understand this, okay, with this perverted reflection. So how does it actually work? How do we get out? So first of all, we have to, Parikshit Maharaj is asking this question of Sukadeva Goswami, please explain to me this creation so I can know what we're up against. So then if we can understand the Lord's energy in this material creation, then we can understand the Lord better. So even though some people, they may see that the Lord is all-powerful, he's a personality of Godhead, and there is some association with the Lord on different levels, and some gurus will say, well, that the highest association with the Lord is that in a loving exchange as a gopi. So therefore they will talk about the pastimes of Krishna to enhance love within everybody that the gopis feel. In you understanding gopi bhava to some degree there, you are actually gopi, and they will award you a gopi name, that you are so-and-so in the spiritual world. You think, oh, that's very nice, I am a gopi in the spiritual world. So then some people take that even a little bit further and dress up as gopis. This is going on, and then they perform gopi bhava, and then they become completely contaminated by the material world because they do not understand how the material world works. It is very, very tricky. So therefore, this is why we have the Srimad Bhagavatam, that we start at the beginning. First we know what is going on with the Lord's energy, how all this energy come about, why we are here, how to understand and deal with material energy, and then we graduate to seeing the Lord's different incarnations, his forms, how other devotees dealt with the material energy, and by the time we get to the 10th canto and we discuss the Lord's intimate pastimes, we understand the sacred nature and the spiritual nature of these pastimes. Krishna says, Janma karma chama divyam evam yo vedi tatvata, that those who understand transcendental nature of my pastimes, dealings with material world, never have to take birth again to take to my material abode. So we don't want to jump at it. We have a relationship with the Lord. This is what is stated here right in the beginning. He's the constant companion. And but Lord Chaitanya explains this relationship, that we're dust many times removed, that we're the servant of the servant of the servant of the pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is how we approach the Lord, through the service attitude of serving the devotees of the Lord, and then the Lord becomes pleased. So this is the process of bhakti yoga. So we connect with Krishna in this process by service to Krishna. This is our eternal duty, because this is what happens in the spiritual world. The liberated souls in the Vaikuntha planets, the liberated souls in Goloka Vrindavan, what they do, they glorify the Lord and they serve the Lord to their best capacity. Why? Because then the Lord is very pleased with the service and he reciprocates, and there's this ultimate loving exchange which is of a spiritual nature, which is way beyond anything material here in this planet. So we just finish with the last couple of chapters, last couple of paragraphs here. One who is dazzled by the effulgence of the impersonal Brahmayoti cannot know the personal transcendence. Therefore, in the Isopanishad, it is prayed that the Lord shift his dazzling effulgence so the devotee can see the real identity. He's spoken thus: Hiranyayena patrena satyas tasya vitam mukham tattvam pusam apavrinu satyadharmaya drishtaya. O Lord, you are the maintainer of everything, both material and spiritual, and everything flourishes by your mercy. Your devotional service of Bhakti Yoga is the actual principle of religion, Satya Dharma, and I am engaged in that service. So kindly protect me by showing your real face. Please therefore remove the veil of your Brahmayoti rays, that I can see your form of eternal bliss and knowledge. So, dazzled by the rays of the Brahman effulgence. That I really have no comment on that. That is just a beautiful verse that is there in the Upanishad, except for the fact that I remember in the Srimad Bhagavatam the case of Dhruva Maharaj, who became very much wanting to achieve power and glory way beyond that even of Lord Brahma. So he prayed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And of course the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the source of the effulgence, is Brahman effulgence. So when he appears, he is very, very effulgent. So when Dhruva Maharaj actually, by the dint of his austerities, was able to see the Lord, his eyes just filled with tears, and the effulgence, you could hardly make out the form of the Lord. And of course he surrendered to the Lord, saying, I was praying for material things which are pretty useless compared to seeing your wonderful, wonderful form. There's also instance in the Garga Samhita when the demigods were praying to the Lord to come down to the planet because they were being harassed by all the demons. And then Lord Brahma went with Lord Vishnu to see Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu said, we'll go and see Krishna. This is in Garga Samhita, which Prabhupada also recommended, that one of the great literatures. So then all the demigods, along with Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu, went to Vrindavan to personally see Lord Krishna. And then when they actually saw Lord Krishna, they could hardly see him because of his beautiful effulgence. So Lord Krishna actually gave them the eyes to see. So it's also said here in this purport that all this wonderful effulgence, it actually comes from Goloka Vrindavan, comes from Lord Krishna. So this dazzling effulgence. So we can only experience some of it by looking at the sun, because it's said that the sun is the eye of the Lord. So it's sort of like, the sun's the eye of the Lord, so it's the dazzling effulgence that is there. So the lesson is here that we look beyond that effulgence. It's really nice. Sometimes we look at the sun, right? Especially in the morning when the sun comes up. Sun's rays and through the clouds. What a beautiful setting, and everything's just makes you feel good. You're basking in the glow. So if we realise that sun, that effulgence, is just the eye of the Lord, as simple as that we're actually basking in the Lord's energy, and that actually the Lord is the bestower of everything upon us, then we can see ourselves in relationship to the Lord. So that's just a little bit of an observation on that particular verse. Just read that verse again. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto He who is the associate of the members of the Yadu, and is always a problem for the non-devotees. He is the supreme enjoyer of both material and spiritual worlds, yet he enjoys his own abode in the spiritual sky. There is no one equal to him because his transcendental opulence is immeasurable. Anybody have any questions or comments? I haven't commented on the fact that law is always a problem for the non-devotees, because there is that inherent nature that the non-devotees are always envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then being envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead means that they're always frustrated by the material energy, that they're subject to the material energy. Ichidvesa Samutana Dvandamohana Bharata, that all living entities are born into this world with the duality of desire and hate. So if you actually hate the Lord, then you are fraught with so many different miseries that are there because you don't understand your real nature as spirit soul, just like a fish is unhappy out of water. That was just a comment. Any other questions or comments that I have to make on this purport? Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much.